Hello and welcome to the second episode of Transformers ToyCast. I am TFG1 Mike and I'm joined by General Tekno and Protoman. Hello guys.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. This was an idea that I brought up to you, Tekno, when you guys were wondering what to do after Smartcast, and you had mentioned something about doing a Transformers news podcast, and I kind of didn't really mean to shoot it down, but I kind of did because I know my buddy and I, Steve, we have one for Predacon Empire called All Things Transformers. There's TFW. There's tons of Transformers news podcasts, so I figured we could do something original, something that really I have not seen anybody do. I mean, other than, YouTube reviewers, but that's video. And yeah, video podcasting, no. Video podcasting is 5 times the work of audio. So basically, this is going to be kind of going over to your friend's house, taking one of your favorite toys with you, one of your favorite Transformers toys. Can be from any line; it doesn't matter. And we're just going to sit down and discuss them. So why don't you guys tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves? Whoever wants to go first, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I guess Tekno, since it was your idea, you should go first.
All right. Thanks for setting me up like that. Well, I guess that I'm a Canadian Transformers fan. I got back into I grew up on Beast Wars, like a lot of people my age, and in the fandom anyway. So, and yeah, found Beast Machines all right. Got toys from them, birthday, Christmas sort of thing. Then I fell out after Beast Machines. I was vaguely aware of some of the stuff going on in the fandom, but I wasn't really following. Then what actually piqued my interest again at first was some trades of the Dreamwave comics, and then I really got back in after I started hearing about the movie stuff back in I guess it would have been 06, and then Classics came out, and that started sucking me back in because there were also all those great Cybertron toys that were out around then, and I happened to have money to spend this time. So a few years later, and a whole ton of toys later, here I am.
Very cool.
Very
and
cool.
What about you, Protoman?
Oh man, I'm what you call an old school fan. I've been around practically the entire span of the whole franchise. When I was 3 years old, I went to see the original movie with my neighbor in theaters in 1986.
Nice.
And it all started from there. It all snowballed. I started, I wouldn't say collecting at the age of 3, but I got a lot of toys as a child.
Yeah.
Obviously in 1989, when those Ninja Turtles came out, the focus was shifted, of course.
Very much so.
like anyone who was from that era, and then of course video games. And then it all fell apart there from the video game era. But then, like General Tekno said, when 1995-96 rolled around and Beast Wars came out, that kind of really brought me back. And also conveniently in 95-96 was when I first got the internet. So I was also there when the internet fandom first started on the first ever Transformer message board, Alt Toys Transformers, which was groups and BBS boards back then, before we had forums and YouTube and all the more complex stuff.
It's a famous board.
And from there, I found Benson Yee and his message board, and I took it from there. I haven't been out of the fandom ever since then. I have I think right now I probably have over 2,200 Transformer toys. I'm a completist. I buy everything that comes out, and I mean everything, not just toys. Party favors, anything with the Transformer logo. I'm kind of a Hasbro whore, if you will. But
he has Transformers bed sheets. Don't lie.
Wasn't there a story about a fishing rod?
Yes, I have the original G1 bed sheets of different variations, but I didn't buy any of the new stuff. Although I did buy the movie Optimus Prime throw blanket, like one of those insulated ones, for my girlfriend because she likes to lounge on the couch, and so it's an excuse for her to rub up against Optimus Prime, I guess.
Okay, insert bad joke there.
Yeah, exactly.
Good thing our Tony isn't on this one.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
The fishing pole
Apologies.
joke that Tekno is referring to is I kind of almost drew the line where when I went to the States once, there was I was at Target and they had a Transformers fishing pole set, which and at that point I was kind of like, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. And then my girlfriend turns to me and keep in mind my favorite character in Transformers is Hot Rod. and she said to me,
I see where the joke's going now.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, didn't Hot Rod go fishing in the movie? I'm like, what? Oh, fuck. And then I threw it into the carriage. Anyways, to make a long story short, I've been around for a while. I have a lot of toys. I have a lot of knowledge. I don't want to brag. I'm part of the staff of the second largest Transformer convention in the world, TFCon. Yeah.
And he's the goddamn Protoman.
And I'm the goddamn Protoman for anyone in the fandom who knows that small little thing.
Yes. Yeah. So, like I said on air, this is it's good. I want to keep this very simple. Most likely, we could feasibly do 2 episodes a month, and probably because I'm going to be switching out. Like you guys could probably be on the even episodes, and I'm going to have Pia and Optimus Scourge on the odd ones. I don't know yet. And the only reason why for that is because the scheduling and just having more than 3 people on a podcast is very hard to control and very confusing. And I want this to feel like a more intimate type of setting to where, it's like 3 or 4 friends get together and they basically, fangasm over their collections and stuff like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
This can be the Canadian episode.
Yeah, so in episode 1, which I still have yet to have Steve Megatron upload to a feed burner yet, we haven't actually created the feed for ToyCast yet, but in episode 1 I talked about G1 Astro Train. We did bring up the animated toy release news, which we can kind of discuss here. I can't wait. I will so be buying those toys. That Rodimus has got to be the most detailed car mode I have ever seen. I looked at the picture of the car mode, and you can actually see the key lock and door handle.
Well, I have a personal story, actually, with that toy that's kind of hilarious. I don't know if Tekno knows about it, with Derek Wyatt.
Share away if you can.
I'm pretty chummy with Derek Wyatt, who's one of the art directors from Animated. And when the Rodimus toy came out, Derek and a lot of the fandom know about my obsession with Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime. So after the Sunday at BotCon, Derek managed to be able to get the animated Rodimus toy out of the display case to bring to his personal hotel room. He then took a picture of it with his cell phone and then sent the picture onto my cell phone. So here I am, it's 8 p.m. at night, and I'm all depressed because I didn't get to go to BotCon. And then I get a text message with a picture of Derek Wyatt with this like smarky face holding the Rodimus toy going, "Jealous asshole." The picture is, if you look for it, it's somewhere on the net. I uploaded it because I was just so shocked.
Now, did he show you the entire figure in his hand?
He held what he did was he held it in vehicle mode, and he was holding it in the shot with him with like a finger on his lip, like Dr. Evil, like like
right.
Aw,
yeah, exactly.
Like you want it, because me and him, we talk a lot whenever he comes to TFCon, and he knows about the obsession of me with that character.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, he was a great guy at TFCon.
Yes. Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
So,
true fan through and through.
So who wants to go first with their picks? Doesn't really matter to me either way.
So, Tekno, you started, I guess.
All right, I guess that, in vein of we've got the Revenge of the Fallen line out now, which, it's the new big toy line for Transformers. So, in the context of the movie universe, I got the new Starscream toy, which is great, by the way, but not to let it fall by the wayside. I feel that someone should bring up the merits of the original movie Starscream toy. That is the first movie Starscream. Mm-hmm. I've got the regular one, I've got the Deep Space and the Deep Space one, and of course the movie 2 Starscream. I've got them all right here with me right now. I'm just missing I just lost a missile a few days ago on this guy. That's probably down here somewhere, but I mean, it's really, he's an underrated figure in some respects. I mean, the biggest complaints about him that I had when he came out was, there's the lack of hands, and there was also the fact that he's got a jet that's got legs hanging off the bottom of it. He's a very, very kibbly jet, and it really shows that he was designed without that much time really for them to work with. One thing that I found interesting, well after the fact, when I was flipping around online and looking at some of the concept art for the movie characters, when I looked at the Starscream one, and then I looked at the original, not Deep Space, but the original one, I could see how they came up with the design for that toy, just because a lot of the paint apps and color decisions are pretty much spot on to that concept art. Like, he's that same shade of tan on the concept art. He's got the knees painted the same way. It's very, very similar.
Well, that's pretty much a majority of the movie line to begin with. This is why we're now getting movie toys in Revenge of the Fallen that are more spot on to the CG models, because these toys were pretty much engineered along the same time that they were being designed. And those first few images of Optimus Prime that leaked onto the internet, which were just design photos, those were pretty much the basis that would be the toys. And same thing with Megatron went through so many stages, and as a result, yeah. So that's all you have to realize. Hasbro, what they do is they make the toys extremely early, so you could only imagine how much they had to work with at the time. Even the comic books by IDW, Alex Milne said that when he was using references to do the movie adaptation stuff, they only gave him so much to work with. So that's why a lot of the designs in the comic books too were inaccurate.
Well, one thing as well with the first movie line that needs to be remembered is that the movie originally they were going to launch it as a December movie, weren't they? And Classics was created to fill the stopgap, so they would have been engineering the designs even earlier than before. I think that's part of the reason why we started seeing the movie toys as early as we did, because they had all the designs done. With Revenge of the Fallen, we started seeing them early, but it took longer for us to see our first designs.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not really that into the movie toys, so I really don't have that much to say about it. I think the reason why I'm not into them is because of the fact, okay, I understand why Michael Bay wants every, edifice of a robot showing, like, every part moves on him, but why in the world would you do that for a toy design? That makes no sense to me whatsoever, and I just don't like seeing like the gray robotic type areas in toys.
I could explain that all to you, because I've actually done a huge discussion about this. It pretty much to just sum it up quickly, it has to do the difference between what we're used to in Transformers, which is Japanese designing, against what we've seen in Beast Wars and in the American line and in animated, which is American designing, which is the movie also. To give you an example, you've seen RoboCop,
yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Ed 209, who's the big, ugly robot in the first RoboCop movie, notice his feet and the way that they are. They're kind of like the tripod claw sort of feet. That sums up how Americans view robots very simply. And they apply that kind of thinking to a lot of their robotic designs, because they think more practical. How would it walk? How would it stand? How would it balance? And they apply that to the Transformer characters. That's why the movie characters have those kind of claw feet, and they have these pistons in their legs and everything. Because an American, when they design a robot, they kind of think of how would it even be able to stand. The Japanese, on the other side of that fence, don't really think about that. They think of more of the aesthetic. That's why when you look at Optimus Prime, you see a Gundam aesthetic, because that's the way that they think. And we've been raised so long on Japanese aesthetic Transformers, from G1 to a majority of G2 to all of the Unicron trilogy, whether it be Armada, Energon, Cybertron. The Classics versus all Japanese engineering. Only Beast Wars was a change from that, and we sort of just chopped it up to the fact that, well, because they're animals, they look different. But it was actually because they were American-designed figures, a majority of them. But that's pretty much why a lot of people don't enjoy the movie aesthetic, is not so much because they didn't try or they're going in a different direction, is that it's Americans that are designing it. And that's how Americans see robots. That's their take.
I think a good example of that would just be looking at the movie Decepticons and just their designs versus like the movie Autobots. With the Autobots, they did make more of an effort to make them more human and stuff, but you look at the Decepticon faces. I've got most of the movie Decepticons down here with me right now, but Starscream, you wouldn't know that it's Starscream by looking at that head. What gives it away as Starscream is the telltale designs on the on the body. Like, he's got the swept-back wings, he's got the cockpit chest, he's got the Gatling guns on his arms. Now, for Starscream, what sold me on... I wasn't sure about the design at first. What really sold me on his design was both he worked in the movie and especially Alex Milne's portrayal of Starscream in the Reign of Starscream comic. His art of Starscream really sold me on the character, and I'm a huge movie Starscream fan. But yeah, the Decepticons are just a good example. Or even from stuff I've read about when the Takara designers were first getting the designs back from Hasbro, or even the Hasbro guys, like, they were getting stuff and they were saying, yeah, this is way too far off the mark from what we want with Transformers. This doesn't look anything like Transformers.
Yeah.
And they made stuff like that prime mock-up to show this is the kind of thing we're going for.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just too used to the Japanese toys then, because okay, like I'm looking at animated Soundwave, and like, okay, you see his legs, you can see that there's supposed to be screws in there, like on the inside of it and stuff like that. I mean, I understand that, but the whole movie line is that they actually show you the inside of the leg. Like, it's like if somebody sliced my leg open and you could see one of my bones inside my leg, that's the way I look at the movie line, and I just don't.
That's actually the new gimmick now with the Revenge of the Fallen toys, is the Mech Alive gimmick, where you could see internal parts moving here and there.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it looks really good on some figures. Some figures it's not that well executed, but I'd say probably the best example, I'd say there's two, would be Starscream, because of you turn his head and the gears and the chest spin. It's really clever how they engineered that in such a way that the gimmick doesn't actually work until you transform them and align the panels properly. And then there's Leader Prime, who, well, if you do that, it looks like he's breathing just about because of the way the chest slants up and stuff. It's like it's Mech Alive, and he's like breathing, that kind of thing. It's sweet.
That was probably inspired by what our podcast host over here has to say, because it's true. That's kind of the gimmick and the design that they're going for, is to give that ability that these Transformers are alive in the movie. And again, American designs have that more practical view of that. Anyways, we got kind of off topic on Starscream, but
do you have any other comments about your Starscreams over there, Tekno?
Well, I mean, the biggest complaints I had when I got him was the fact that, well, he had the big bulky hands, as I mentioned that before. The missile launchers were really, really cool, just in that he comes with 6 missiles, which all fire, which a lot of figures don't have that. Have 6 launchers in one figure, so that was really cool. And the main thing I didn't like was the launchers are hair trigger launchers on this guy. It doesn't take much to fire them off. And I guess a final observation as well, I really like Revenge of the Fallen Starscream, but there's definitely stuff that I do like that the first movie Starscream did better. Like, for instance, I think that the proportions are slightly... Ignoring the arms, I think that the proportions are in general better, because the legs have more bulk to them. The legs look more like the legs in the movie, whereas they're kind of more faked on the new one because he transforms so differently. Mm-hmm. And although by the same token, the new one, he does a lot less fakery in that the wings are actually on the back, whereas they aren't on the original. He's got a much more accurate head, and he's got the hands, and his tail fins form the crotch piece like in the movie. It's still a very neat figure, but the first one definitely has props, and the Deep Space version is especially awesome.
Wow, I can make a really, really bad ass and crotch joke right there, but damn, that's horrible. I guess I'll go next. I'm the type of person, and I found this out when I first started buying the animated line. Most people know this. I have a mild case of cerebral palsy, and my right hand and foot turn in slightly, and I basically use my left hand for everything. And for the most part, when I was younger, I could pretty much transform any of the G1 guys fairly easily. Animated is, for me, and I hate to admit this, I'm 29 years old, and I can't transform fucking toys for nothing. When I first got Blur, I broke his legs off. I didn't do it intentionally. It was by accident. They snapped off. I twisted them the wrong way. They completely snapped off. So I'm the type of person that I'll buy 2 toys of whatever ones I want. That way I can have one in alt mode and one in robot mode.
Well, just to cut you off there, I own an insane amount of Transformer toys, and even that happens to me with animated toys. And I think personally the primary reason for that, it's not a personal thing to you. I think it's something that's shared with a lot of Transformer fans, because the animated designs and how they convert from one mode to another is vastly unique and different than what we've been used to
very
in the
much
past.
so.
Yes.
A lot of G1 toys transformations have very similar cues and ideas that are later found in even a Beast Wars toy. How a chest will just come down and be the front of the
Exactly.
car, where animated would have faux chests. Animated would have a character who would be a car, but when he transforms, his chest would be the car, but it would not really be the front of the car. Like, if you know what I mean by like a faux chest. Yeah, like Bumblebee. Granted, there's exceptions to the rule. Jazz is a very G1 in transformation animated toy,
Grimlock.
but then you'll have or Grimlock. But then you'll have characters like Blur. You'll have characters like Prowl. Any motorcycle transformer always has to use some kind of shortcuts here and there to transform. Bumblebee had a lot of problems in terms of quality control issues. So it was something new that we weren't used to. So a lot of people ended up, snapping stuff. I know me personally, I have also. So
to
I
be
wouldn't
fair
feel so
with
bad.
Prowl, he's pretty accurate in how he transforms. But
Yes.
the thing that blew me away with the animated designs, though, was when I first saw them, I wasn't sure what to think with the designs. But then we actually started seeing the toys, and it became a matter of, holy crap, they got
Exactly.
these designs when these were, I think, the movie designs were pretty challenging, but I think that these were just as challenging in another way, because that's another different departure from the Japanese in that a lot of the stuff, you look at Transformers Cybertron, they're all very technically precise in terms of the CGI models and how they transform and stuff. But with animated, it's a lot more loose, there's a lot more leeway, and you end up with stuff where you've got some very, very cool transformations.
It was a
Aesthetics.
very unique design. That's what I loved about this line was
Yes.
when you would pick up a car from any other TF line, you more or less never had to look at the instructions because of the simplicity of what you've been used to in the past. Everything was relatively done the same. Same thing with the Classics line. I would never want to debunk the Classics line, but it has the same kind of flow to it. But animated toys, how one mode gets to another is a completely different adventure, and that's what I love about it, is how much engineering went into it. A Blur is a great example, Lockdown too. It's just little things that were never done before but are now being tested and tried with this line. I mean, I would have never thought the animated Rodimus figure would be able to be done, considering that it would have to turn into the same Rodimus car that I've been used to all these years.
Yeah.
But they did it somehow.
man.
They did it. And those legs, you look at those legs and you're like, where's the car parts? Because you're just so used to that,
I remember when we saw Shockwave back in Season 2, when we saw the upper body transform, I saw that and was like, okay, I can see them doing some of these shifting features in the toy, but I can see how they could do the head and the chest piece, maybe the shoulder pads, but I didn't see them, the entire toy morphing from one toy to another toy. I did not expect that whatsoever. Shockwave is like one of the best toys in the line because he's got one of the best robot-to-robot conversions they've ever done in Transformers.
That is what's so amazing about that line, is just the amount of engineering that has gone on. And so again, going back to you, it's completely understandable where you're coming from, because we were all not used to that kind of, I guess, twisting
well, I
and
mean,
turning.
like, okay, for me, I just started getting back into collecting about a year and a half ago, and and everybody knows this. I've said this plenty of times. I am kind of ashamed of it, but at the same time, I did what I had to do to get my G1 toys back. I've spent over probably $4,000 getting G1 toys back, off of eBay and crap like that. But with Soundwave,
you're in my presence, so trust me, you get a pat on the back more than anything.
With animated Soundwave, first of all, why didn't they make him a tape deck? Second of all, the packaging on all of the animated line, it says ages 5 and up, level 3 conversion difficulty. And I'm thinking, okay,
Oh.
you take a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old or however, whatever. You take one of your kids to the store to get these things, and the parents look at it and like, oh my God, that to me that would be a very much not buy situation. But long story short, I had to go to Walmart to get another Blur, and the time before that I had went. Before I got him, I had gone another time, and the animated line was pretty much emptying out off of the shelves to get ready for Revenge of the Fallen. So I went. I found like 2 different Blurs, which is fine, and I found one Soundwave, and I'm like, all right. And I had just seen Human Error Part 2, or the both Human Error stories. I was like, all right, fine, I'll give him a try. Because originally, one of the reasons why I didn't like Soundwave was because when I first saw Sound and Fury, I only saw the mini version. I never saw his. I never saw the full version. Well, I have now, but at the time, I never saw the actual fully upgraded version of him. And I'm like, I really don't want that. So it was like the last one there that day. So I said, oh, the hell with it. I picked it up, got it home. I took a couple of pictures of it in the car mode, and then I started trying to transform the thing. First of all, he is a midget. This cannot be a deluxe figure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it cannot be. And that's one of my fears about Rodimus, because when I saw the Rodimus robot mode picture, he looks pretty much the same size as Soundwave.
According to Derek Wyatt, he stands next to Jazz on the same footing. So, he said the transformation's similar too. But I'll get to it when I get to my...
No, that's fine.
my
but I mean,
pick.
And the reason why I say that they look like they're similar in height is because the way that Rodimus's legs look. They're basically an orange version of Soundwave's legs, as far as the way that they look. And that's why I thought they were going to be another midget. But yeah, I hate this toy. I cannot stand... I can't believe I wasted the money on this thing. The coolest thing about it is the laser beak guitar. That's it. I mean, I just don't like it at all.
I could explain that all to you if you would like. The Laserbeak guitar actually, again, because Derek Wyatt, who designed Soundwave, is a big fan of Japanese mecha. The Laserbeak guitar is actually a homage to another Japanese robot line called Gao Geiger that had a character named Mike Sounder, who I guess you could call the Autobot Blaster equivalent in that show. And he had a guitar that he would use as a weapon. There's a lot of Gao Geiger references throughout animated through the series, because Derek Wyatt is a huge fan of that show. So it pretty much stems from that. Why Soundwave isn't a tape cassette player has more to do with the fact of how Hasbro does things. They hate repeating alt modes. We already had 2 Soundwave cassette toys that were out in recent years, which was the Titanium toy, and then we had the reissue in the commemorative series, aka an extension of the Classics line. So I guess that either they wanted to go in another direction and do something different that could be used, also because how many kids today know what a taper player is?
Yes.
Or they just felt that, you know what, we did a tape of Soundwave already twice before in the recent years. Let's try to do something different. And then, hey, we'll see what we'll do with the movie line. Of course, we know what ended up happening with that. But who knows? We're getting Soundwave yet again in tape form and another reissue form for the San Diego
Yeah, but
Comic-Con.
I mean, that's a reissue of an already existing toy. They didn't change the mold on that at all.
Yep. But see, that's the thing, because it's very hard to update a character that's based on hardware of music.
Yes,
again, we got iPod Soundwave. That was our here you go. We gave you what you've been asking for all these years. Granted, we didn't get CD Soundwave. We got iPod Soundwave.
It wasn't even a domestic release either. It was a separate Takara thing.
Yeah, it was just a separate Takara thing, and we got it in 3 different colors.
3.
Actually, 3 different colors. Yeah, and that was it. So, I mean, who knows? We'll get something else down the line, maybe. One thing that I always say with Hasbro is never predict anything, because they will throw a left ball at us of any kind of craziness, and we'll just
who could have called Movie Lockdown and Bludgeon?
I mean,
I want those figures desperately.
Well, it's the same thing. We never got a Classics Soundwave, but who would have predicted a tape cassette Ravage that would come with Hound?
That's true.
You know, that was like, so the seeds have been planted. Just wait, it'll happen.
And I
that's
know
how
that
they
I'm
work,
going to
Hasbro.
absolutely love somebody at Hasbro if they do a movie-style lug nut. I'm absolutely going to lose it if someone does a movie lug nut.
I just want to say right now, before we go any further, the Transformers ToyCast and Geekcast Radio Network is no way in any way sponsoring General Tekno's love of lug nut, because lug nut sucks.
Hey, lug nut is awesome.
It should have been
He's
Astro
glorious.
Train, damn it.
You got Blitzwing. What more can you want?
Astro Train, I liked him best. Blitzwing can go jump off a cliff. But I mean, like with Soundwave,
I guess they only wanted.
he is a tape deck in the show. Even if Takara did a release, got the rights to it, and did a show accurate tape deck. I mean, I don't know. I just.
But that's the problem. The problem was that Animated was a American release show, an American designed toy line, and I mean, Animated didn't even air in Japan. So and the toys that were never released there. So that's the problem when they have that kind of domestic release. The control is in the Americans' hands, and what they felt was that kids don't know what a tape deck is, and Hasbro is not 100% sold on holding on to homages in G1 as much as Japan is. Japan is willing to do that. They'll do homage color schemes and re-release old toys. They're like crazy. Just look at the stuff that they release now. Any kind of adult line over there. I guess quote adult line over there. But in America, it's more important to sell to children, and I could understand that perspective because if you don't nurture the youth, they won't grow up buying the product later. If you don't attract those kids, look, people hated Armada, but if it wasn't for Armada, those kids would have ran off and played video games and then would have never touched Transformer toys in their later age. That was the whole point of ugly, bright, simple toys, because you have to bring in children. Yes, while Armada's out and we're all raging at Armada, they'll give us something to keep us happy too. They'll give us a Classics or a Titanium line. So, but at the same time, don't be angry if we get Bumble Spud or something. There has to always be something to bring the kids in.
Yeah,
it has to be there.
And I will never buy the original TFA Bumblebee. I bought the Elite Guard version. I liked it a lot better. It's a lot cooler.
Fair
I
enough.
think. Yeah.
To be fair as well, with Soundwave's tape deck mode, just to go back to that did make it in toy form. It's called Music Label Soundwave, a Spark Blue.
But it's not the animated aesthetic though.
But it's a box.
No.
I mean, it's still designed after that. I mean, we even got Sonic White Soundwave in animated. How awesome was that?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. They did a lot of homages here and there, thanks to Derek.
Who was like God of Transformers dumb?
All right. So what's your pick, Proto Man?
I decided, I guess, for the first show to go with the obvious. I went with Henkei Rodimus. For those who aren't familiar, Henkei Rodimus is the Japanese release of Classics Rodimus. Now, why do I pick the Henkei version over the Classics one? In my tireless effort to get the most perfect, amazing homage to the G1 Rodimus toy ever, I feel that the Henkei one was a step up from the one that we got domestically over here. The two major differences, those being, is the chest emblem is a lot more similar to the original G1 toy and what is represented on the TV show screen. And also the spoiler, instead of it being just orange, was a beautifully gold chrome, which I think really just changes the toy's look right there in any mode. The last thing being is all the translucent colors. In the Classics version, they were all a dark purple, whether it be the missile, the eyes, or the canopy for the cockpit, where the Japanese version was a light blue. Again, another nod towards the original
I was
G1
say the same
toy.
thing. The light blue is really, really good. I mean, I have the original as well, and you can't see the eyes that well when it's light piping.
Yeah, with the purple one, you can't see nothing, and I think that it was kind of a mistake on Hasbro's part to go that direction, but either way, Takara picked up the pieces and really put out an amazing figure. Just in that, the tireless effort, though, to achieve a perfect Rodimus. Just to note, the new animated Rodimus toy that's going to be coming out is going to go a step further in, I quote, hot rod engineering, in getting rid of the... because for years, it's always been a question of what could we do with the engine in the vehicle mode. And in the original G1 toy, they used to put it behind Hot Rod's head. And it's not noticeable from the front, but if you look at the toy from the side, it's very noticeable. There's an engine on the back of Hot Rod's head. When they made the Classics toy, they managed to just, put it on his chest and that's it. We'll just act like it's not there. But now Animated has managed to find a way to get rid of it in flipping it, where there was a little compartment where if you flipped it, where if it's on his chest, but then you flip this little compartment that the engine is on, and it reveals an Autobot logo instead and conceals the engine, which is a really cool idea that they did. But either way, going back to what I'm originally discussing, the Henkei toy is amazing. Right now it's the best Rodimus figure you could get for your money that represents the original G1 character. This toy, unlike the mold in general, unlike a majority of the other Classics and Universe toys, is more trying to be like the original G1 design. A lot of the other Classics and Universe toys are trying to be more updates of the characters using different design aesthetics, where this one is really trying to be the G1 toy as best it could be, and give us modern technology.
I was just going to say, I think part of that might be because of his design, because already in 1986 he was designed as a futuristic car. As a result, he doesn't look dated today.
Yes.
The design, you could just take the design, tech it up a bit, and it still looks like a really cool car, since there's still nothing on the road like that.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. I only have actually two complaints about it, and they're very minor. Is the Henkei version, considering all the paint that they put into it, it would have been cool if they actually put a little bit of paint on his little buzzsaw there. That would have been... I mean, you could pick up a set of repro labels and, put the little silver on the buzzsaw to begin with, but it would have been cool if they put that. My only other complaint is just the toy itself. If you compare Hot Rod to any other car, Classics or Universe figure, whether it be the Sideswipe, Sunstreaker Brothers, he's kind of short compared to the others.
Now, is that both
Very
of them?
short,
is it
actually.
the US and the Henkei, or just the Henkei?
Yeah, well, they're the same.
Okay.
They're the same size. The mold in general, the mold. It's. I find that he's a tad shorter compared to a lot of other Classics and Universe figures of the same price point, of the deluxe price point, and it's kind of sad, because I remember I displayed him next to Sideswipe, and Sideswipe is like a head and half his chest taller than him, and you're like, wow, okay. Which brings me more. I guess it's just due to the fact that since he was an early Universe toy, a Classics toy, that I guess they weren't really thinking about scale for the later figures when Universe 2.0
As well,
came
another
out,
thing
so.
too would just be posability compared to some of the other ones, because that's probably my biggest beef with him.
Yes,
Just posability on the elbows is very limited. Shoulders is pretty limited as well, and then I guess even head size. His head is Sideswipe's head is like twice the size of Hot Rod's.
That's always been an issue with any Hot Rod figure, action figure, is posability of the shoulder area because of the spoiler, and having, even if you take a PVC figure of Rodimus, there's always that kind of limited posability because of the spoiler, but that sort of comes with the figure, it's just bound to happen just by his own aesthetics and how he's designed. But again, part of the reason also why he's limited in posability, he was kind of more of an updated G1 toy, where when you're going from that era, you're bound to,
Yes,
have bricks.
And I said this in the first episode of ToyCast with P.O. and Optimus Scourge when I was talking about Astro Train. Astro Train has to be the most non-brick G1 toy ever. Astro Train for me is the easiest toy to transform out of the entire G1 line. But going back to Rodimus and Hot Rod, I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit. I do like the US version. I do want it. I haven't seen a picture of Henkei. I probably need to look it up, but And I know it's basically a direct redo of the mold, but Shattered Glass Rodimus is awesome as well.
Oh yeah, of course, without a doubt.
He's got a goatee. Of course, he's awesome.
And it's painted on.
Yeah.
It's not something that's just done with whatever.
Yes, it's a great paint scheme. Again, also due to the fact because BotCon toys have a much larger budget when it comes to how much paint they can apply on the figures. So you get a lot of little touches and details there. Yeah. It's a gorgeous figure, that one. And it's actually it's a better because the Japanese also released their own version of a Black Rodimus using that mold, the Wild Rider one. And the only major difference is they made a red face on him, which I think kind of puts off the figure, but it's more a homage to the Wild Rider character from G1. But yeah, I heavily suggest check out some some really nice photos. A good example, go to Remy's Transformers. He always takes great photo shoots of stuff.
Yeah, just send me a link in Skype or whatever.
He has some beautiful. Oh yeah, because seriously, that gold spoiler and the light blue clear plastic really just completely changes the whole perspective of how the figure looks. It really changes a lot. It's amazing what chrome can do.
A question for you, Protoman, though, regarding your Henkei Rodimus.
Yes.
Have you had any issues at all with the right elbow in yours at all? Because
I own, and this is pretty sad, when this toy came out, I bought a case of them, and a case has 6. So I have multiples of them in various modes and poses, and none of them have any quality control problems. My only issue I think that I could find is a mild looseness in the knee area when you turn it left and right, like when it swivels. But that's about it. All of them more or less have the same quality. Although the original Classics figure, I did have varying quality control issues here and there. The wrists where it tucks in and out were loose on some and tighter in the others. The crotch area, again, if you want to make a joke there, was loose in some areas and tighter in the other. But the Henkei ones so far, and I own 4 of them open, 2 that are mint on card, and none of them seem to have any quality control issues. The one that I keep very close to my desk in my G1 room,
because I've actually had a few.
Really.
I've got both the US and the Henkei one, and I've had a few issues with them. When I got the US one, I ordered just a whole lot of them online, the whole first wave of Classics. I get them in, I transform them, and the pin in the Classics one on the right arm, on the elbow, it's missing the rough part. So the pin pops out.
Really?
Yes,
but that's on the Classics one, correct? The Classics one, I have always experienced some kind of quality issues with the Rodimus. The Henkei
on the Henkei one, interestingly enough, he didn't have that problem, but it's a bit loose in that the arm will droop if I put the cannon in there, because it doesn't have quite enough friction to hold it up. Even on the right arm, it does on the left, but on mine on the right. Wow. But the other weird thing though is the crotch. Something's screwed up in the assembly. I've tried taking him apart to take a look, but there's something screwed up in the alignments that when I transform him into alt mode, the crotch isn't quite snapped together properly. I think that they misaligned a screw hole or something just ever so slightly, because.
Yeah, I think you got a lemon.
Yeah, because he'll transform into alt mode, but not everything will go in flush. Not like my Classics one, everything goes flush, but not so on this guy.
Going back to Soundwave from TFA, that was the other thing I had a real problem with. Because I usually watch YouTube reviews to first of all, feel out figures if I want to even buy them, and second of all, for basically instructions on how to transform them, because I never really read the... You can't read the instructions anymore because they're nothing but visuals, and exactly, very much
they're
so.
They're bad visuals.
Very much so. Well,
I miss the days of the trilingual instructions of Beast Wars.
Yeah. Well, my Soundwave, when I first got him, it took me about 6 tries, about 45 minutes to turn the waist around, to turn his whole chest piece around to where it's supposed to be in robot mode. It was so tight, and it still is.
That is tight.
Yeah.
If you've only got one hand, that's especially going to be hard to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's a great figure. I really love just how all the kibble hides away. He's got the fake chest, which looks good. And I love the leg transformation because of just how novel it is and just how everything just folds out of place in ways you wouldn't expect. But, yeah, I'll agree that piece is a bit tricky to get in and out.
Yes, very much so.
He does also have some paint quality issues, I found, at least with the face. But that was mine. I don't know, maybe
ones
other
on
people
the
had
eye,
that.
but nothing noticeable. I think my first Prowl was worse, actually.
Okay.
I did exchange a Prowl, but Prowl was definitely the worst in terms of face paint apps that I've had.
Mine has, I'm looking at him now, mine has like one like blue spot on his mouthpiece, on his head.
Yeah, because that was a comment. I remember him specifically when I picked him up and I transformed him. I looked online to see if anyone else had problems. He had the most paint problems from all the reports on the AllSpark and TFW.
Right.
The Soundwave.
Yeah,
For that matter,
but
even
it varies.
with Leader Prime from Revenge of the Fallen, when I went to pick mine up, I was looking through about 10 of them or so, and I was having a hard time finding one that had a perfect face paint apps. Because there was usually at least a chip around the center of the faceplate where the mole... where, the two halves of the face are joined together on the mold there. Like, right in the center of the faceplate, like, there was usually a bit of blue showing through. And I ended up getting one, but he's actually... I haven't bothered to remove it or anything, but he's actually got a streak of silver on the top of his head, so...
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Some of the quality control issues on some of them kind of suck.
Thank God we're past the sticky paint syndrome, though.
Alright, well, I think we're going to wrap this up. I really don't have that much else to talk about, I don't think. So this has been Transformers ToyCast. I am TFG1 Mike with...
General Tekno.
And we will see you next
Protoman.
time from the Geekcast Radio Network. There are several ways to get in touch with us. I should have brought that up, and you can move this around in editing, I guess. My Twitter is TFG1 Podcast. What's your guys' Twitters?
General Tekno, no underscore, or space, unlike my username on all the fan sites.
And mine's Protoman X, because some guy took Protoman and he doesn't use it. That bastard.
All right,
so it's
very
Protoman
cool.
X.
Just a quick programming note. We will be doing alternating episodes with hosts. And eventually I will set up a Twitter account for this, and I will set up a Gmail account so the show can have an actual dedicated email address eventually. So this has been Transformers ToyCast. See you next time.